Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Up Zone, where understanding politics is made simple. We are your two hosts, Mr. Elmer Floyd, former House Representative for the 43rd District in the state of North Carolina. That's a big deal, sir.
Thank you.
And
Thank you,
myself,
Madam
Tisha,
Wadia.
absolutely. And myself, Tisha S. Waddell, former City Council Representative and current candidate for mayor in the city of Fayetteville, North Carolina. Mr. Floyd, how goes all?
Well, Tisha, I mean, you and we had a good relationship prior to you filed for mayor.
I
And
messed it up.
you messed it up. I mean, because these individuals, they have been calling me. I mean, about your candidacy and also about, you know, I ain't going to tell you what the other thing that they called me about. But I wish you get these get the matter straight. Give me a little bit more help that you used to give me. That all the creditors didn't call me. Yeah, I mean,
Mr.
I know you
Mr.
focus. No,
Floyd.
no. I mean, I know you focus on that because I see all of the forums that y'all are attending.
Mr. Floyd, and here's the crazy part. There are so many forums, and the one that now, full transparency, I've attended one so far as a visitor because the mayoral forums haven't started rolling out yet, but there are many forums coming up. But the one that I went to, Mr. Floyd, I was slightly disappointed. I was slightly disappointed because the the attendance at the forum was low, and even the attendance of the candidates at the forum was low. And I was a little disappointed in that. And I was invited to be on Peter Pappas's on his podcast, the Carolina Cabinet, Mr. Floyd. And when I was there, he said to me, or it might have been Laura said, well, it was, a holiday weekend. Maybe they had Peter said, so what? It doesn't matter. And I agree with Peter. I was like, so what? You're running for office. And even if you can't make it, send a statement in the hopes that the organization will read the statement articulating why you were unable to make it. I'm trying to
So
help us out here.
okay, so one thing that was my motto in the General Assembly: you have to be present to serve.
Absolutely.
And repeat that you have to be present to serve. So you have to be present to receive some recognition. Now, I don't see if you're not present, then how can you be recognized?
Right. And it may not be that you are necessarily recognized, but the organization may, on behalf of the candidates who are not present, and they might not even say your name, but they may say, we received statements from four of the candidates that are not present indicating why they would not
They
be able to
normally
be
do
here.
that. They normally
Yeah.
do that. I mean, if you communicate with them, indicating that there's a
Beforehand.
schedule conflict, yeah, yeah. So normally, I mean, most are are polite in their delivery, but it's so many, and but all the forms that y'all have to attend, it seems like the voter turnout should be between 15 and 25% with the number of forms that's
So
there.
you saying the number of forms doesn't equate to the voter turnout?
No,
And Mr.
no.
Floyd, I'll say this. I did see faces in the room when I looked around. Typically, when you go to forums, you see the same faces. I did see a lot of the same faces. Like my buddy Charles Evans was there, so we got to sit, and chat a little bit. I saw Veronica Jones, vice chairwoman of the Cumberland County Commissioners. You see a lot of the same players. Senator Val Applewhite came into the room. She showed up, but you usually don't see many new faces. I actually did see more new faces at this forum than I'm accustomed to seeing. I saw people I did not recognize, which was um, it was exciting for me that portion, but the other of it was just. And then Floyd, we had people show up at the forum, and I understand being late and having prior obligations. I do. I know that this is a very full lifestyle, and you're busy. But when you come into a room 15 minutes late, and we all there before you, and you're the person that we've been waiting on, at least offer an apology for your tardiness. Like show us some consideration because we were here on time.
Well, that's one thing that the military teaches us. The military teaches us about arrival and timing. It's just like going to a home service. I know I'm supposed to do an announcement. It's just like going to a homegoing service. You ask people to do 2 to 3 minutes, and they up there for 5 to 8.
Right.
Okay, I mean,
I'm laughing,
it's
Floyd, because
simple.
I be taking my time. I take my time, but I'm trying to learn how to be quiet. I am.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at the time factor, and what I look at is that many people, come to these forums. They have family obligation, they have children obligation, and so they don't have the time to stay from 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock at night and
Hmm.
then prepare their kids for the next day. So time is the scheduling and timing is critical. But anyway, I just maybe when you get through at all these forms that you can get back and call and help me call some of these creditors and
I got you,
let
Mr.
them
Floyd.
know.
If nothing else, I can come cut your
Whew.
line so they can stop calling you, huh?
Well, I'm not saying cut the line, but any assistance would help. You know, any assistance. But anyway, that
What
don't forget
announcements you
that
got for us today?
NAACP Founders Day is going to be at Iron Mike on Fort Bragg, which
Okay.
is going to be this coming Saturday at 1 p.m. And I hope that they don't want to stay until 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Uh, and then we have a big event that's scheduled for September the 9th at First Baptist Church, and it's building a better relationship with the Martin Luther King Committee because people think that there's not a lot of transparent, and so what they think is that we can do things better if we work together better.
Right. Right.
And Fayetteville State Board of Visitors is going to have their meeting on no, I'm sorry, September the 30th at
Fayetteville State, who now? The Board of
11.
Trustees?
Now visitors,
What's the Board of
you know,
Visitors, Mr. Floyd? That's new. That's a new one.
I'm on the board of visitors, and we provide the assistance to the university so it can grow, utilizing our academia skills that we have.
Excellent. Thank you for
Thank
sharing that with
you.
me, Mr. Board Member.
Yeah, well, I don't usually talk about these things, but I'm on the board of visitors. And by the way, I want to congratulate, let me say, the Fayetteville State University. Our enrollment increased by 500. Our retention rate went up to 78%, which is 15% higher. And our GPA, eh, not bad, T, somewhere around 3.32.
That's
Not bad.
excellent. That's excellent.
Not bad, not bad. When it wasn't that now, a long time
I
ago.
remember.
That means that our chancellor, as the
Is
boys
doing
on the
his
street say,
job.
is rolling. As the boys
He
on the street
rolling.
say,
That's right.
he's rolling. He's rolling.
That's
So
right.
congratulations, Chancellor. And don't forget, Tish, WIDU is having its anniversary, which is going to be October the 23rd and the 24th. So to find out, get more information, you can call WIDU at 910-483. I think it's 6111, and get more information about how you can participate in these events.
And
So
get your
call
tickets for
them
the upcoming events. Yeah.
and get your tickets for the upcoming event. So keep that in mind and govern yourself, in accordance there. So those are our announcements, Madam Water, and thank you for allowing me
Absolutely.
to do that.
My pleasure. Now, Mr. Floyd, I done pressed a button on this computer, and I don't know what I did, but I can still see you, but you're just small. But I want to share very quickly our
Small.
announcements. Yeah, our first. I don't know what I did. I really don't know what I did,
Don't worry
but
about it. I can read this here. I
yeah, I'm
can
not
see
even
this.
gonna worry about it right now. But
Hmm.
this is our list of municipal candidate forums that has been put out by the African American Caucus that they're hosting. So the one on August 30th has passed already. There's another that's coming up today for District 7 and 8 at 5 p.m. at the VFW on Chance Street. Listen, let me say something to you, European American people. You do not have to be a part of the African American Caucus or African American to attend these events. I want to make sure that this is very clear because I think that we should see all types of people coming out to hear what these candidates have to say. And no candidate should be able to pander to a particular audience because other members of the community are not in the room. So be present, European American Fayettevilleans. September the 4th, 2025, districts 7 and 8 at the VFW on Chant Street. On the 20th, you've got your mayoral candidates at 1 p.m. at Mount Sinai Missionary Baptist Church, and again on the 27th at 10 a.m. at North Regional Library. I want to say this now, Mr. Floyd, while we are talking about being present and not being present. I will be present at the mayoral candidate on September the 20th. It is my intention to be present on the 27th as well. Yet I do have an engagement that day. And so if I am unavailable, I will be putting out that information so that the community is aware well in advance. And I will still avail myself for any questions
Not the
that you
day
have,
of.
not the
Not the
day
day
of,
of. Okay then.
not the day of.
All right.
And again, it is very likely that I will be able to be present. I'm just not sure yet. And I've notified the people who are putting this on. I responded in like fashion. Both of those days I've been asked to deliver some remarks, and they're to audiences that I can't bring myself to say no to because they are the people that we serve before we even serve. So Mr. Floyd, those are the candidate forums that are being hosted by the African American Caucus. Again, Caucasian Americans, you are welcome at these forums. So don't not show up just because um, whatever. But yeah, Mr. Floyd, what you got?
Well, that's just some of the
That's
forms
just
that we
some of
talked
it.
about
That's just
earlier.
some of it.
That
Yeah.
that's just some of them, and it's. I just hope that the forms increase the number of voter turnout. I know the president of the board of chairman of the board of election mentioned that by virtue of having this field plus, that the voter turnout will be great. But also, two candidates have already withdrawn.
I saw that. Larry and I were looking in the paper. Who are those two candidates, Mr. Floyd?
I forgot. I mean, got one of them.
I
I
think
know
they were
two of
from
them.
District 7 and either District 8 or 7 and 9.
One of them. One of them.
I'm
I
gonna say
forgot
this.
what.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
And
two
not
of
that it
them. Two
doesn't
of them.
matter, but once we withdraw
Yeah.
your name from
Yeah.
consideration, it's a mute point.
But the name would still be on the ballot, but their
But the
votes would
votes
not be
won't
counted.
count. Hmm.
Would not count. So be aware when you go to the polls and look at the candidates and that candidate. That you may cast a vote for that candidate, and you wonder why it was not counted
Mr.
there.
Floyd, Arlene has said that 927 is also the International Folk Festival. So she's recommended that people leave themselves plenty of time to find parking if they're going to be attending that candidate forum. Good information, Ms. Fields. Thank you for sharing that. Mr. Floyd, what any other announcements before we move into our rich and robust conversation today?
Well,
I want to go back to something we talked about last week before we jump into our new news. So is there anything else that you have as far as by way of
no, no.
okay, Mr. Floyd, I I I'm not going to put up the images, but I sent you some images that are floating around social media. Um, and they are cartoon caricatures of elected officials um, in response to the vote that was taken for the 7-Eleven. Mr. Floyd, when I sent those to you, what was your first thought?
Well, I looked at them, and then and just say, my, it's election cycle.
And I looked at
Yeah,
them and I said, huh, people are paying attention.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They
And so
are
I just
paying
looked at them.
attention.
I just looked at them and just could, you know, you know, once you run for office, you expect to see anything, out there, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So,
Absolutely.
it's just politics. And so my thing that I've always said, if you got the backbone of an earthworm, politics is not the
You might
field
as
you
well
need to
stay
be in.
home. Right. And I think for what I recognized when I saw those caricatures was that people are not as they're not as slow as some politicians might think that they are. They see through the dog and pony show. And I'm glad for that because that was a dog and pony show last week when you all went into the city council to have a conversation about that rezoning. Mr. Floyd, have you heard anything else in regards to when your matter will come back before the council?
Well, it's scheduled to come back on the 20, I think it's 25th or 27th of October. But I'm hoping that the presenter for our side will be present. And if that person is not present, we hope that the city council will give the same restriction that it did to the developer that they would do to our presenter.
Don't test that theory, Mr. Floyd.
Yeah, you about right. You about right.
I
You
I
you
have
right.
a
But
I have a good feeling it won't go the same way for y'all. Don't test
no,
that
no,
theory
no.
now.
We know that, but in order to be fair, and if I can jump and come right back,
Hmm.
you know, I know the county. Some said what the county must do with the parking lot that they
Let's talk
tore up.
about that.
Okay, okay. Now, and it's the same thing about the developer that we look at. As it develop its property. We talk about green space, green space, green space, and green space, but we allow the developers to be the max on the land, and later the city and the taxpayer pay the amenities.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
you know they don't for sidewalks and for just a little small area where people can walk the dog, also the dogs, cats, whatever, and their children. But it starts with development. And so, as we talk with developers about zoning, not to allow them to build the max, but help the city with some recreation in that area. Because when you look at it today, many people don't see it, Tish. We talk about global warming.
Yeah. And you know, Mr. Flood, it's
And
interesting because I think that when we look at what's happening, even with development, sometimes we get fixated on the outcome, but we need to go back to the input. And the input from the city council level is to develop policy. And so if your policy is inconsistent with the needs of your community, you need to revise the policy. And we see this happening as the conversation was had again when I was on the podcast with Peter Pappas. There's conversations being happening that have been happening in terms of the UDO. And the UDO directly affects the development community, right? And so the development community, instead of being disgruntled about the output, they go back to the council and say, we need you to change this policy so that we can work more efficiently and effectively. This is the same thing that the citizens of this community need to be coming together and saying, we need for you to change the policies regarding how zoning is handled. We need for you to change the policies regarding how development is handled. And one of the things that you could certainly start with is because it's the thing, Mr. Floyd, across the board that seems to garner the most conversation is the noticing of these projects. People are disgruntled about the distance of who needs to be noticed, the timing in which the notice needs to be given, and then when changes are made, how the notices go out. And so, most certainly, that's a policy issue. The city council has the capacity to effectuate a policy that addresses those concerns for its citizens.
well, well, it's just like our zoning. The city really on the 25th or 27th when it comes back up, really do not have to re-advertise to notify the community that the matter is coming up on that particular day. But now the developer knows, okay, but the community is not forward. that information. So if they don't receive the notice by by their community, then it may be the only person that's there is the developer. Okay, if you understand what I mean, you know. Now, one thing that I love about what the cities say is that they have down there health, safety, and other matters. They see no conflict. And what the staff say most of the time, it fits future,
With the
the city future development plan. And I'm looking at the 7-Eleven and I'm trying to say, where is the future development plan for its road improvement for that area? Okay. But it fits future development plan. So, like I said last week, let's do away with the future development plan and just send it to technical review. And the technical review said need concrete billing.
Mr. Floyd, I know when you say that, you're saying that in sort of a sarcastic way, but I think that's how a lot of people feel right now. It's like you might as well just leave us out of it because you're gonna do what you want to do anyway.
Yeah.
Just
I
do
mean,
just leave us out of it because you're gonna do what you want to do anyway. And one of the comments that was made, and I know I keep referring back, but it was such a robust conversation around this, Mr. Floyd. One of the comments that was made was, why don't the people buy the property so they can do whatever they want to do with it? And immediately I was like, wait, no, that's the wrong answer because they've already bought property. And that's why they have an interest in what happens in their community because they're already living in a property that they purchased that's being affected by what this person is deciding. And it's such a balancing act because you don't want to hinder property owners from being able to utilize their property in a way that benefits them, but you also want to protect the members of the community from usages that disrupt or destroy the community, which is why code enforcement
well,
exists, right, Mr. Floyd?
yeah. I mean, when you look at it, it's already zoned.
Hmm.
You know that it's already zoned
And
that,
zoning is the
but you
protection
buy
of
it at a cheaper price if it's
zoned
zoned.
differently than what you
Yeah,
want to make it. Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
So they go in with the idea I can buy it for this, but I'll rezone it once I buy it. Then
To
I
be able to do
increase.
this.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we see, we know that there are time instances for that. As an example, Sycamore Dairy Road used to be a dairy farm. So at one point on Sycamore Dairy Road, most of that was a dairy farm in this community. At that point, that land would have been zoned agriculturally, right?
Mhm.
Which means that it would have been inexpensive to acquire that land. Now, at some point, the trajectory of that area changed where it was no longer going to be a dairy farm. And so they had to look and see, they had to have some projection to say, what is this area going to become? And as they did that, that's when if you have foresight, you begin to say strategically, this is what we want this to look like 20 years, 40 years, 60 years from now. As you make that plan, that's when you start creating this land use plan and start strategizing. This is what we want. This is how this should be zoned. So then, when people come in and they say, "Well, we'd like to rezone this commercially," then it makes sense because it's already a part of the plan that you're looking at for that area. So there are instances where it makes sense, but you have to look at the community holistically. You cannot just have these isolated instances where you say anything goes, Mr. Floyd. You just,
Well,
I'm
I
just stuck
mean,
on this. I'm stuck on this because
we all, we are all stuck on this. I mean, you know, it's just like if I go further up on Merks, I mean on Rose Hill Road and 401 bypass, there's another the community say 7-Eleven is going to be put there, but there was two houses on that piece of property, two houses. Where you see, okay, you understand? They come in
mhm,
and buy it at a cheaper price. I mean, they come in and then most people know how a council is going to respond because they call them headhunters. They already, they know more about your city council and your county board of commission than you realize. Okay, they know. uh, 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 you know, as an example, as Mario mentioned at the last meeting, if they knew that the city council was going to say, we are going to table this and you come back within a year, they would have had someone there. Okay. They would have had someone there because they know that that policy would have been enforced. But when
Hmm.
you know that because the person pays 600 and some odd dollars for an appeal, he has the rights greater than the public. So that's what we deal with, Tish.
Yeah. So, Mr. Floyd, what else we got going on? So let's go back to that lot in front of the courthouse and the conversation about what should be built there.
Well, Tish, they're talking about green space. They're talking about a parking lot. They're talking about some form of economic development. And but Tish, but that building across the street, uh,
The old courthouse.
uh, that to me can be a parking lot wherein that it's not full, or wherein that the county ought to recommend that it, county staff utilize, which would free up some of the parking in the courthouse. Now, if you would go back, I think the city spent $650,000 for its new parking lot. I think it's on Franklin Street for its employee. It's a little
Hmm.
walk. It's less than 3 to 5 minutes walk from City Hall.
Hmm.
So if the county employees are asked to park in that parking lot, we're talking about maybe 5 to 7 minutes walk to to the county building. In fact, that land then could be used for whatever. If they talk about an amphitheater, they talk about green space. They're talking about commercial. Is is not to just tear it up, put the same thing back. I mean, so when you do that, it's a different infrastructure that's going to have to take place.
Hmm.
There redesign. So I think all sides you know, have a good argument, but I
Hmm.
think that the county ought to ask its employees to move over to that parking lot. I think it's on Franklin Street, and no, I think it's Franklin Street, part of Franklin Street, and it butts Russell Street. I believe that's what the county manager said, that's the county parking lot across the street.
Okay. Now, Mr. Floyd, I haven't had any business down at the courthouse since they've torn up that parking lot. Have you had to transact any business down there since then?
Uh, if you're a minority, you utilize it a lot.
Well, I'm what they call a double minority, and I have not been down there since they've torn it up. But let me ask you this: where are you parking when you go down there? Where are you noticing people parking at when they go to transact business at the courthouse?
Just
I'm
about any
only
place.
asking because in my mind, I think we need the parking lot back. But if it's working now without the parking lot, then that changes my mind.
Well, you know, on that side of the street, it's not the same. When you talk about Franklin Street and you talk about between Franklin Street and Russell Street, the parking is different than Franklin Street going towards the Market House.
Hmm.
So I think the parking there is free on from Franklin Street to Russell Street. I believe it's free
Hmm.
either 3 hours. But I don't like the way that the city has the parking plan anyway, Teach, because if I park on Gillespie Street and leave and come back, then I'm issued a citation because
Because
I
you're
can't
still
park on this.
considered. Right, right.
I
Which
can't,
I thought was
so
that was so weird to me. Like if you park and leave and come back, it doesn't start your time over. You're still in the same window. Yeah,
yes.
I mean, it's
So
weird.
you get a
It seems
ticket.
like yeah, it seems like it'd also be kind of hard to enforce, but I guess they've got that all worked out. They know
They
what they're
do.
doing.
They do. I believe I was blessed with one of them.
You got a little
I
notice
was.
on your windshield.
I got a little notice. I mean, so it was like if you drop off something, you know, and then you come back and they say, well, come back in a couple of hours and you could pick it up. Well, you come back and you do the same process, but they
Right,
consider that you can't park on the same street. Um,
right.
uh, you
And
know. So, but
listen,
I
my
don't
I
know.
call him the parking enforcer. The parking enforcer will get you, and he'll get you with a smile and with his little yellow, black and yellow shirt on. Look, Mr. Floyd, he's downtown just as happy as he wants to be.
Yes, that's right. And he drives now. He don't walk. He rides now.
Hmm.
You know, so it's a big difference. So,
He sure
but
does.
I do, but I do think that the city by moving the parking down to 9, I mean from 9 to 5, it helps the downtown business a little bit more than to have it running until 9 o'clock at night. So it's a
Yeah.
blessing, you know. But as far as building another parking lot, I think that it's valuable land. So
It
maybe
is
you
very
recoup back
valuable.
some of it. Yeah,
You
you
know what
recoup
would be
some of the
nice in our
expenses that you
downtown
pay.
footprint, Mr. Floyd? More
Uh,
more private development that brings in taxation, brings in entertainment, like something to do that's not just government related. But I don't know exactly what, but that's just my thought. I want to share an email you sent me. Is that cool?
yes.
So talk me through this because we've been having a conversation about the MLK committee, and it seems to me I'm going to try to summarize and you tell me if I'm following, okay? It seems
Okay.
to me that the MLK committee has been operating outside of their authority and that there appears to be, or there's alleged to be, some misappropriation of funding or some non-documentation of funding. And it also appears that people have been placed on this board or are in this board in a manner that is inconsistent with the bylaws of the organization. Am I tracking?
Well, let's say that it's not that money has been misspent or misappropriation.
Okay.
You know, what is there is the transparency of the matter
Mm-hmm.
there in accordance with the organization bylaws. That's the concern, and it seems like there's there's very there's the board is not exercising its authority as it has in relationship with the overall organization. Now, there's two committees. Now, there's the board of directors, and then there's the Martin Luther King committee. The board of directors should meet at least 4 times a year, and with the committee looking at the day-to-day operation, if you understand what I mean, the day-to-day operation, the programs, the projects, and those type things. But there's a tremendous communication problem there. So, in order to address that, uh, you know, this is what have taken place. Also, this letter, and also asking the state auditor to review the state funding. I think it was like $2.5 million
Okay.
there. So it's not that fund have been misspent or misappropriated. It's
Okay.
just the transparency of the funds and the communication with the board, the committee, and the public.
The fastest way to lose the public support that you have as a board is to operate outside of the construct of transparency and accountability. And that is the biggest issue that we are seeing permeate many of the organizations in this community, including our own city council, Mr. Floyd. Those two words that, and you just used them, transparency and this lack of accountability, are some of the biggest issues that can turn public sentiment on a board. So what this letter is a cease and desist, right?
Yes.
And the reasons given are failure to conduct and or file audits or have in a timely manner, failure to have the required requisite officers, including a secretary and treasurer, failure to provide adequate notice of meetings, failure to provide timely financial and committee reports, failure to transparently administer the grant funds for the spiral provided by the state, county, and city to facilitate timely completion per grant terms. Now, Mr. Floyd, this is in specific relationship to the MLK spiral project in the MLK Park. this organization. This organization's formation and this funding is specifically tied to that particular project. That
Yes.
project was when I was on council with Mr. Crisp. Mr. Crisp pushed for this project to continue to remain viable and to receive this funding. I was just reading some information about it the other day. Now, this letter goes on to say that due to these failures to comply with requirements, that the project and public confidence of this organization have been jeopardized. Mr. Floyd, they are requesting that the following actions be taken: that they surrender or suspend the leadership of the organization. What does that mean? Just disband the board?
Well, what they are hoping is that some kind of way that the board would assume its role and responsibility. Nobody wants to dismantle something, but you have to look at it. But if you continue to travel down the same line and does not take heed, then other action may be taken.
They're also asking that immediate elections be held so that they can be in accordance with the bylaws. That they schedule an immediate meeting to bring forward all reports regarding to the Spiral Monument and its completion, and that they provide all financial and operational records of standing committees to all organizations. Now, Mr. Floyd, in response to this, there was another message that went forward.
In, in,
Go ahead.
no, there was one wherein that the chairperson, in order to heed, I'm not saying to this season, but there was one when the president wrote Mrs. Branch, who is the president of the committee, is that requesting that she goes back to January the 22nd and sort of update the board on her committee actions and function during that period of time.
Do you know if this
Now,
email was sent before or after the cease and desist?
that was sent, I believe, afterward.
So he
I
essentially
believe.
was saying, I need for you to give me all these records, the records that this cease
Yes.
and desist is asking for. And very simply, her response was, you have all the records and documents. I wasn't a member in 2022.
Well, they how it functioned. We were there. I mean, we with some other people, and she attended a meeting hypothetically in April. Okay, and in June or May, she was the interim president was relieved, and she became president, the interim president, within 60 days of the organization. And so, therefore, she had no knowledge of the organization. And going forward, all, as she mentioned in previous communication, that she had no knowledge. She didn't have a key to the mailbox there. So, for us handling funds, that she wasn't involved in handling the fund for the Martin Luther King Banquet Committee. So that's what we're talking about, transparent. If she didn't handle the fund, people that wrote tickets to participate in the Martin Luther King luncheon, who handled those funds?
Yeah.
She said she's the committee chair. She had no knowledge, but yet still you want her to go back and prepare these documents. Now, the day that she became the interim chair, my understanding and viewing the meeting in present is that I think Mrs. Monroe was about to give the uh, previous banquet report, but she was dismissed. Uh, so Mrs. Uh, Tawana couldn't do that report because
She
Miss
never got the
Monroe never
information.
presented. I mean, she never gave the report. So, then we read the fact that I think in the Fayetteville Press that over $250,000 has been spent on this project, but the board is supposed to meet 4 times a year. So where is the approval of the board as it relates to these expenditures? So, well, we're talking about transparent. We're talking about money. We're talking about possibly the county gave the committee an extension until I think it's November 1 of this year, moving from November 1 of last year. So this is critical.
It
This is
is
why the
critical.
meeting, this is why the meeting on the 9th of September is important, so that we can establish a better working relationship with the committee. And what I said to one of the members, let me make this very clear to you. If this governing board uh, that set aside $2+ million stop the 900 and some, well, stop the $1 million+ project, you think they won't stop your 2.5? This is not it. It's not a play game. It's not a game wherein that you intimidate. It's just like one of the meetings we went to, and the person stood over Miss Lacey and said, "Who invited you here?"
And Miss
I'm
Lacey's
looking.
husband was pivotal in keeping this project moving forward. And I'm not saying that that just automatically affords her a seat in the room, but most certainly it does grant her some historical perspective on this project. Mr. Floyd, what is this email that you shared with me? What is this one about?
Which one is
Inappropriate
that, teacher?
behavior impersonating an FCC MLK board.
Well, this is another email that that was Commissioner Evans requested this information about transparency,
Mm-hmm.
and I was included in the email along with Commissioner Evans and one of the members of the committee, not the board committee, which was
Mm-hmm.
Alice Allison, and said that if you want to find out about the 940, we can contact the CPA. In which I said to both that I don't need to contact the CPA because the CPA perform a duty and a task and a responsibility. So once that is completed, he forward that to the
To
information,
you guys.
which hide, yeah, which hide him. So if anyone should have that, it is the board of directors.
Mm-hmm.
So Mr. Ellison went to the CPA, my understanding, and because Mr. Ford, sent an email, text message one. So he went there, and the next thing you know, he got this letter that he was impersonating a board member, a board of
Mm-hmm.
directors, and that he is going to be brought to the board to sort of, I guess, to terminate him from the Martin Luther King committee. Now, bear in mind, now there is a time factor in the bylaws which govern how a meeting, is conducted. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
hopefully that if that's the case, that he called a meeting of the board within the 48-hour period of time, and if need be to relieve Mr. Ellison, that that he do call an official meeting and then state the purpose of the meeting,
Mr. Floyd,
there and
how does
whatever.
this affect our taxpayers? Because I want to make sure that as people are understanding the political process, they know how this all affects them as taxpayers.
Well, the money has already been appropriated and set aside.
Mm-hmm.
There, the state money is already here. There, and the city and county is waiting on the information. I'm gonna say this to go to that technical review committee, so in that the city can set the project out for bids.
Mm-hmm.
So the money is already coming from public funds.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a matter of that. When you start looking at public funds, it's a little bit more tedious because they are not going to release funds unless it's within their parameter.
Mm-hmm.
whatever financial procedure process that they have, that's how they're going to disperse those funds. And
Mm-hmm.
so if it has to go to the technical review committee, and it should, Mr. Ford mentioned at the county commissioner meeting that it should be sometime before the end of the year. But
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, it is that this project will move forward within that timely, within that timely manner. But
Mm-hmm.
we're just waiting that hopefully that the meeting on the ninth will improve the communication and make the board look at its responsibility as it's managed the affair of the organization, not to
Yeah.
sit there and let someone else do all of it and you just follow suit.
And Mr. Floyd, I'll say this. I think one of the other ways that it affects our taxpayers is because if you recall, this particular project is positioned as an economic development project as well, because the
Yes.
Spire is set to draw in visitors to come and visit the MLK Park and stop and ponder and pontificate on the meaning of it all when they come into our community and visit. And so it was not just intended to be a green space project. It was intended to be an economic driver in conjunction with some other things that are going on in the area. And so we have to keep moving these projects forward that have been set in motion, that have been planned out and budgeted for.
Well,
And the
you're
best way
right.
to do that is to make sure we have the right organizations at the table getting that done. Otherwise, we do see waste in these plans.
Well, when you look at it, I call it the Civil War Museum. It has a long name. But if you look at that project now, they're well on the way, which is another economic project, which they mentioned is bringing like 200 to $300 million, you know, uh, a year. So in that, when you look at these things, that they come up timely. No one, what happened several years ago when we were looking at the veteran park. It
Mm-hmm.
took the city a long time, and so when the governor, at that time it was Governor Perdue, I think, is that we had a belly up, so we had to find money. So although they got $15 million, I think the state went back and took $2 or $3 million to help balance the budget because the money was
Mm-hmm.
just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
And it just like last week, the auditor said he found $171 million that's sitting in an account.
Mm-hmm.
So these type things, are critical. When you have and people have entrusted in you, you got to move ahead with all the zeal that you have. And organization is not ran by a individual. It's
Mm-hmm.
ran by the committees within that organization. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to have leaders who are willing to take their organization where the brave dare not go. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's
Absolutely.
the problem that we are having, and what the community indicate a little bit more transparent.
But
And that's
Mr.
what
Floyd,
this
there's
is.
also this. There's listen. I'm a huge proponent of courage in governing. And in work period, I think that this is a courage issue also that we're talking about because it takes courage to stand up and say this is not right how this is being done. And the first thing, and I want to dispel this before we go any further, because the first thing a lot of people will want to do is say, well, if they weren't black, this wouldn't be an issue. Like in the black community, we need to stop making an issue of everything that's happening in the black community. And I want to dispel that right now because we're not highlighting this because this is an issue that's happening in the black community. We're highlighting this because this needs to be handled. It needs to be handled. And I don't care if these people were European American or African American. This needs to be handled, and we need to clean it up. I'm glad that you can continue to assert that these are not. This is not an attack. This is not an attack.
Well,
This is an attempt to keep this project on track. Because what's going to happen if this does not get addressed is this project is not going to come to completion.
Uh,
And that's not going to be fair to the men and women who spent the better part of their life lobbying for this project to come to completion.
well, Tish, I have 40 plus years in the Martin Luther King struggle in this city.
Mm-hmm.
40 plus years. So if anyone has a vested interest in this, would be me.
Absolutely.
40 plus
Absolutely.
years of looking from the CBD loop to the holiday to scholarships, you know, all of these things, So I have a vested interest. And Lacey was one of my good friends. He was the one that asked me, say, can you get me $1 million+ to help with this project for me?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm saying that as a legislator, I when I had the opportunity, yes, I did do it. And
Mm-hmm.
so I have a vested interest in seeing that because that's what the community wants.
That's right.
And so I have a vested interest. And so we're hoping that this meeting on September the 9th will will really establish a better working relationship between past members of the committee and the community and the board of directors and the committee.
That's
We're
right.
not saying, let us close these as we go on to another issue
The
that
next topic.
another matter
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is that we're not saying that there is misappropriation
Right.
of money. No, we're just simply saying there need to be a timely matter of transparency
Yeah. Let's
and
just handle
accountability.
business. Let's just
That's
handle
all.
business. Let's just
That's
handle
all.
business.
And
And
we're
if you
here,
handling business, just show us that so we can back up off of you and leave you alone and let you keep handling business.
yeah. And we're here
Absolutely.
to help you, but we can't help you. I recall, and I'll say this and before we move on, you
Mm-hmm.
can't help someone who don't want to help themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't want to waste money. But anyway, see, our last topic we wanted to talk about was it shot spotter?
Yes.
You know, uh, some say there's on consent agenda voted by 8-2 to go forward. And so if it's on the consent agenda, most likely it's going to be pulled for future discussion. But
Mm-hmm.
now the funding that the city used to pay for the first year, that one year came from pandemic money. So if it's going to be paid for a 3-year period of time, which is 600 somewhat $1,000, going to have to be
Mm-hmm.
paid for out of general fund. So, but they're waiting on one additional report coming. I think University of Charlotte
Right.
there. So I think it's supposed to expire this month. So whether or not they will get an extension for 3 or 4 months, or whether or
Mm-hmm.
not they will renew it for a 3-month period of time. So
Right. Well, Mr. Floyd, here's my question, because this is the question that I'm hearing in the community. Okay. My question is, when we look at ShotSpotter, do you feel and believe that we ought to be strongly resistant to this based upon what we see budgetarily, because it is not necessarily a budgetary win? Or do you think that we ought to be um, giving room to it just as a tool in the tool belt? Does that question make sense? What I'm asking?
well, you have to. Every community is different. Some communities saw that it was not feasible for them,
Mm-hmm.
so they removed themselves from this particular uh,
All
plan.
together. All
Yeah,
together.
and some
Mm-hmm.
communities believe that it helped, but what you rely upon is that in many instances, when you don't have the information, you rely upon outside consultants to
Mm-hmm.
help you better form or like your opinion. And what they're saying is that it works better along with the 911 call.
Mm-hmm.
And some communities believe that in the minority community, saying that it's somewhat targeting the minority community. So
Mm-hmm.
they prefer not to have it. But then there's others say, hey, it worked well. So you have to take that of utilizing expert opinion that's not
Mm-hmm.
biased,
Mm-hmm.
and formulate your opinion. So like you
Mm-hmm.
said, whether we pay the 600,000 a general fund, the
Mm-hmm.
police, but the bottom line of this one said it works better with the 911. But it
Okay.
said that you'll have 97% accuracy, and it says that you're only getting 24%. So how do you weigh it?
You're right, right, right. And I think that's the question, Mr. Floyd. So here's where I am because I have a very strong position on this, but I'll tell you, even with a strong position, my position is not inflexible because my position is it worth the money that we're spending on it, right? Is it effective? Does the effectiveness justify the cost? That's the first part of my position. As I'm hearing from our community and I'm hearing them say, and this is what I'm hearing, Floyd. Some people are saying, move it, get rid of it. It's not working, get rid of it. Other people are saying, if it saves one life, is the $200,000 worth that one life? And that's a fair question, and it's a question for all 10 of the people sitting in that dais. I personally probably would not vote to continue funding ShotSpotter. I think that there are other ways to get to a reduction in the crime rate that are not ShotSpotter. I've got questions that have still not been answered about ShotSpotter, Mr. Floyd. Particularly, let's talk about the technology a bit more because when you start deploying technology into certain communities without really understanding the technology, you are putting your citizens at risk of over monitoring. And everybody doesn't want to be over monitored.
Uh,
You ever read the
T,
book George
that,
Orwell's
that
1984, Mr. Floyd? You read that book when you were in school? You probably did. We all had to read that book in school. When I read that book, it opened my eyes, and I see it now that we become so fear filled that our response, or so lazy with technology that our allowance of the overusage of technology enslaves us to technology, and we then become hostage to the technology, and that's what I don't want to see happen. There has to be
well,
some balance in it.
but that's where, and it also rely upon what our chief of police say that is best, how it best serve his organization. Now, he did mention at this same, he did mention at the meeting that we had for our zoning, was that he planned on by X, I guess within a year, is to have those 41 position police officer, field, which would help them perform their duties, and also more, I think it was 6 additional human resource officers. So he has
Right.
a lot. He has a lot to do. And then again, if you have the 21 41 position field, you have more patrolmen, on the road, and that too would help reduce crime because many neighbors uh, probably don't see a police, see a police car there. So I don't, just like some communities have said in the past, and I'm one that never going to say defund the police. For
Ever.
any community, for any community that
Never.
need the police,
We
is
want them to
any
show
community,
up.
yeah,
We want them to show up.
our community.
Not only that, Mr. Floyd, but I also, and I'll say this because even as I say, I probably would have voted against it. If I'm sitting in that dais and I have a police chief who is looking at me and he is saying to me, this tool helps my officers, I am probably going to listen to that police chief and fund that tool because they are boots on the ground. And I am only looking at it from a budgetary perspective. And that is the thing that we have to be mindful of. And that's why I say it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another for me. I'm not the one out there responding to these shots fired. I'm the one who's supposed to be, if I'm in those seats, I'm the one who is supposed to be in the position making sure you have the tools that you need to protect our community, protect yourselves, and ensure public safety. Those are
Right.
so
That's what I'm
how
saying to
can I
you.
tell the police chief if the police chief comes to me and says this works for us? How can I tell the police chief? And it's just me talking through my process. How can I tell
Yeah.
them, Floyd? We're gonna take
Well,
that from you.
it goes, the affirmative must come from the police chief, not 50-50, but the affirmative to move forward must come from him as he look at performing his duties.
Mr. Floyd, I'm looking at the comments. This is the best comment for the day, okay? I'm gonna read it to you. It says, I want every tool and resource spent to help and assist our local police force. Overfund the police. I'm with you,
Well,
Pamela. I am with you because again, when you want them to show up, you want them to show up. You want them to show
yes.
up. And you want them to want to do their job so that they show up with the right heart, the right motive, and the capacity
Well,
to really do the work.
well, as we exit, one thing that is happening in my community now on the Court District Audubon is that we may get some speed bumps, and so that too is part of that enforcement, that they had to deal with, so I want them to be, funded. When you call them, you want them to show up today, not tomorrow, if you understand what I mean. So I will be very, I will listen very carefully at the comments that the chief made. And so with that, Tish,
That's it.
that's it.
That's it. Um,
And don't
Mr.
forget my
Floyd,
dog now. Don't forget my dog now.
that's what I was getting ready to ask you. Go ahead.
My dog, if he carried, he'll bring it.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm going to stick to what I say too. There is no justice apart from righteousness. If you want justice, you must first seek out righteousness. I want to say something one more time, Ms. Flood. I am Tisha S. Waddell. I am running for mayor. I do certainly hope that those of you who are paying attention will consider supporting my campaign. Mr. Floyd, I want to thank you for continuing to be my podcast host, the podcast host that sits with me on this show. Even though I am running for office, I appreciate you. I want to thank everybody who is being supportive of our podcast. I want to continue to highlight that we are here week after week because our goal is to help make understanding politics simpler. Thank you to everybody who is commenting. Mr. Floyd, make sure that you keep telling your people to like, share, subscribe, and follow. Also, join us September the 13th for Praise is Greater Than Politics at 5315 Morganton Road, an afternoon of praise, worship, and word where believers are going to come together and we are going to lift God up over our city so that he can be glorified and so that everything else can just fall subject to him. I love y'all. Mr. Floyd, you one of my favorite people on Thursday mornings. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, yeah. You just work on my creditors. And
I'm
have a
gonna
good
work on it.
weekend.
I know. Look, you don't owe nobody money. It's people calling me
And have
trying
a
to
good
see can they get an extension. Y'all
have a
have a.
good weekend.
That's what I was gonna say. Y'all have a phenomenal weekend. And let me play this outro music, and y'all go ahead and make sure that you like Tabitha Brown say, you have a good day. And if you can't have a good day, don't you go messing up nobody else's. I can't even find out. There it is. Okay, here we go. That's it.